Good morning, DPS employees. I'm Paul Lejeune, the CFO for Durham Public Schools. We're glad that you're attending this fourth session of our My Financial Answers updates and presentations to us. They have provided us very good information in the last. We expect quite a bit more from this session. This one is about expanding your plan with alternate scenarios. I want to turn it over to Ben Pitts and allow him to introduce himself as well as his presenter for the day. And I'll turn it over to him right now. Thank you very much and have a great session.
All right, thank you, Paul. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another iteration of our Financial Fitness Bootcamp. My name is Ben Pitts. I'm the CEO of My Financial Answers. Just really excited to have another week of this. I think this is week 4 of 5. This week, as Paul said, we'll focus on expanding your plan, meaning expanding your financial plan with alternate scenarios. As in most of our lives, we've got, might retire this year, might retire another year. There's lots of different scenarios that we need to consider all the time, some of which are in our control, some of which are not in our control. But our presenter today, Becky Iacopelli, will present this presentation for us. She's done several before, so welcome back, Becky, and I'll let you take it from here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ben. So my name is Rebecca Iacopelli. I'm a certified financial planner with My Financial Answers, and I'm here to help you through this financial fitness bootcamp journey. So I've been working in the industry, as many of you know, if you've come on the last webinars, for 7 years now, working in wealth management, financial planning, and tax as well. So I'm really excited to help you guys get on your financial journey and work your way to success in achieving your goals. And hopefully this webinar is just one more step to getting you there. So with that being said, I'll start presenting. So welcome to week 4 of the Financial Fitness Bootcamp. What we're going to be doing today is discussing how to expand your plan using alternate scenarios. So we hope you were able to join us for our past webinars. We hope you found some insights regarding cash flow management, debt management, and also understanding your risk tolerance in the market. So we hope you as well join us next week. We're going to discuss Social Security and retirement income planning. And that's where we'll get a glimpse of how we can navigate our income sources in retirement. So we look forward to seeing you as part of that as well. So this week, in explaining our plan with alternate scenarios, we are going to dive into how to make changes to our plan and how that can provide us with a more positive outcome for our retirement. So if we are faced with an uncertain retirement based on our current circumstances, it may surprise us how making a few changes can significantly increase our nest egg and help us to live out our retirement the way we planned. So this may require some sacrifices depending on our circumstances, but overall our goal is to be able to retire someday. We don't want to be forced to work for the rest of our lives and to just be able to provide for ourselves or to live like we were in college eating ramen noodles to make ends meet. Not that there's anything wrong with ramen noodles. Of course, they're a great low-cost meal. But hopefully our lifestyle that we're experiencing now can be extended into retirement. And that is what we want to allow you to achieve by addressing some possible adjustments to your plan. So be sure to start building your plan with your advisor at My Financial Answers, and we'll build your base case scenario and then see how adjustments can affect your plan with alternate scenarios that are tailored to your situation. So with that, let's look at our base case for purposes of this presentation. So to start us off, we have our friends Bill and Bart. As you can see in the chart of their retirement assets, the dotted line being Bill's retirement age, they will be running out of assets right before entering into retirement. So right now, if things remain as they are, we're looking at a required nest egg of around $700,000 and a projected nest egg of only $400,000. This leaves a shortfall of around $300,000. And this shortfall is certainly reflected in the chart that shows their assets depleting over time, right in time for retirement, unfortunately. So what this is our base case. It's the foundation we're going to use as it's the current situation. And from there, we can see how changes to their situation will increase their chances of a pleasant retirement. So here we have Bill, he's age 42, and Barb, age 40. So Bill is a store manager at Target and makes $50,000 per year. He contributes 5% to his 401k that's available to him through his employer, and he gets a 2.5% match from his employer as a result of his contributions. Barb is a teacher at Morristown School District and also makes $50,000 a year. She contributes 5% to her 403b and receives a 5% match from her employer. So she also will be receiving a pension in the amount of $1,500 in retirement, which many of you are as you're working for a school district as well. So Bill wants to retire at 67, and Barb wants to retire at age 55 when her pension starts. They spend $6,500 per month and are looking to spend $4,000 in retirement after the kids are gone. They have 2 kids living at home. So what we're going to do for Bill and Barb is find a way to come as close as possible to meeting their goals by pulling some levers in their financial plan. So pulling the levers. This means we push and pull some of the aspects of their plan in order to get where we need to be. So we make changes here and there to have an impact on the results of the plan. There are a variety of levers we can pull to improve a retirement scenario, but some main ones include spending and saving, your time horizon, your portfolio's asset allocation, your retirement spending, bridge work, and Social Security. When it comes to spending and saving, this is often the most significant of changes we can make and oftentimes the most necessary. As we discussed in the cash flow management webinar, many people are spending more than they make. They make choices that do not fit in their overall budget, and this causes them to go into a deficit, taking away from their savings and ultimately landing them in debt. Bill and Barb, they're currently spending all that they make outside of their retirement savings, and they are not able to contribute to any other savings. As we will see, pulling that lever will allow them to have a better retirement picture. Another lever we can pull is our time horizon. For example, Barb wants to retire at age 55. That is a lovely time to retire and certainly would be a nice opportunity for many people, but it may be a lofty goal when it comes to their situation. Extending the term of her retirement, that'll allow her more time to save for her future, building up a bigger nest egg that will allow them to meet their retirement goals. Portfolio changes are also a lever we can push and pull to change our outcome. Different asset allocations have different average returns that will affect how much our portfolio grows over time. So taking on a bit more risk in the equity markets, as we discussed in our last webinar, will allow us to experience greater growth. Sometimes that may be necessary in order to meet our goals, but we of course want to be careful to stay within our risk tolerance. Additionally, we can change our retirement spending. Many things change when we enter retirement, and we may be able to flex this amount in order to meet our goals. With bridge work, we can extend our income source into retirement by working a part-time job or working at a job that we love, something with less stress and less commitment, but that brings us the additional income needed to maintain our lifestyle. Lastly, we can adjust Social Security. There are different ages that we can collect Social Security, and these affect the amount of money we will receive throughout retirement. It is not always a negative change that we have to make. Perhaps we have a hefty pension and our retirement picture looks great. Well, in that case, we may be able to spend more in retirement or more right now. We may also be able to take less risk in the market if our portfolio is projected to be over what is necessary. Hopefully, of course, that's the situation for you, but that is not the situation for most. So we are going to address how these levers can be pulled in the case of Bill and Barb and see how their overall outcome results. So let's first take a look at spending and saving. If we reduce our overall spending, we can of course increase the amount we save. This, as we discussed before, is a bit of a daunting task. We would have to first identify our budget, what we are currently spending our money on, and pinpoint ways that we can reduce our spending by making some lifestyle changes. We are going to take a look at these changes one by one to see the impact they have, and then look at what making a combination of changes to our overall plan can do for us. This makes the changes, of course, less dramatic and less difficult to do. In this case, we are looking at the change in Bill and Barb's plan if we spend $1,000 less per month. They are spending $6,500, which is a bit high given their income level, so it is not unreasonable to believe that they should cut back just a bit. They can do so by reducing their housing costs, travel expenses, or overall budget, such as on extracurricular activities or eating out as an example. Saving $1,000 per month would change their projected nest egg to around $750,000. This is over and above their required amount of $700,000. So that is a big difference in terms of bridging the gap from their $300,000 that they were short in their current scenario. This money can be saved either in a retirement account or a personal brokerage account, which would be a taxable account. Ideally, the money would be saved via a 401k, 403b, or a Roth or traditional IRA. They could simply have one or both of them increase their retirement contributions to their employer. This way, the money would grow tax-free over the course of time. If you are able to find ways to cut spending and increase in savings, talk to your advisor to find the best means of investing your money so that it can grow for you in retirement in the most tax-efficient way possible. But you may be thinking that finding $1,000 per month is a big feat and difficult to do. As I mentioned in our last webinar, packing our lunch can save around $250 a month, and that's just a start. We can find other ways as well. But maybe you couldn't find $1,000 in your own budget to cut. That is why we are going to work with a combination of levers in order to lessen the impact of each one. Another lever we can pull is our time horizon. If we extend our retirement age, we will be extending the amount of time that we have income coming in the door and also retirement savings during that period. So this can really make a difference in bolstering our retirement. This can not only be done with retirements, even things such as buying a house or taking a big vacation. We can extend the time frame for when we are going to make those big purchases so that we have more time to save and keep us from going into debt and increasing our debt payments each month. But the primary means is increasing or decreasing our retirement age depending on our situation. If we have over the amount of what's required, then we can retire earlier. But if we're in the opposite situation, working a couple of extra years can make all the difference. So now we come back to Bill and Barb. Barb originally intended to retire at 55. So let's look at the scenario of Barb increasing her retirement age to 62. With this, not only does their retirement nest egg grow, but they need less money for retirement because there are less years that they will be going without pay. In this case, they only need $575,000, and they would end up with $644,000, which is a nice cushion to make their retirement years happy ones. The beauty of creating alternate scenarios is that you can choose how you want to extend your plan by picking what's most important to you. If it is hard to cut expenses because you have not much left to cut, well then extending your retirement plan may be the way to go. If working longer is going to be the death of you, then we as advisors would seek to find other means to alter your scenario, most likely by working with a combination of changes to ease the blow of any one alteration. Another way we can change our scenario is by altering our portfolio to utilize more equity or maybe even less depending on our situation. If we are in a positive scenario where we are projected to have too much for retirement, then it would be possible for us to have less equity exposure. Less risk means a more secure portfolio that we can be confident will be more protected in the case of downturns in the market. However, we might maintain our equity exposure because we can afford to take it, and we want our portfolio to grow sufficiently to provide an even better retirement lifestyle or even a legacy for our heirs. But in the case of Bill and Barb, they had a $300,000 shortfall. But by taking on more equity risk, they had increased their nest egg to north of $870,000. They could do this without making any other changes, but of course there are limits to what kind of actions you should take in your portfolio. You want to be careful to not take too much risk depending on your age. You should also stay within your risk tolerance as we discussed in the last webinar. If we do not stay within our risk tolerance, then we can end up making impulsive and detrimental decisions such as pulling out of the market. Fear can cause us to make some bad decisions financially, so we want to ensure that we are within reasonable limits. Be sure to speak to your advisor in regard to your asset allocation over the course of your lifetime, and be sure to decrease your equity exposure as you grow older and closer to retirement. We would want to prioritize other changes, such as spending and saving, or increasing our retirement age before taking on more risk in the market. There's a difference between what we spend currently and what we spend in retirement. When we retire, there are changes that we make in our lives. We may no longer have children living at home, and this means we have some extra space in our house. So many individuals, they downsize when they go into retirement, perhaps into a retirement community or just a smaller house or townhome. This will greatly reduce our expenses, and likely we will be able to pay for our house with cash if by that time we have paid off our mortgage. If you are buying a smaller house, you will then have extra cash you can put in your portfolio to use for your retirement spending, which further increases your nest egg. Not only do many downsize, but they also may move to a different state that has a less costly tax burden. You can look up states that are the best places to retire, and high on the list would be tax-free states, such as Florida, which is one of the most common retirement states. I personally am in New Jersey, and we are one of the highest tax states, not only with income, but with real estate taxes as well. So, of course, many people move out of Jersey to lower tax states when they retire. Additionally, in retirement, we also will be in a lower tax bracket because we no longer have our large source of income coming in. Depending on the types of accounts you have, you would only be incurring taxable income based on what you spend annually by taking it out of your traditional retirement accounts, such as a 401k or IRA. Alternatively, if you have a Roth account, you would be taking that money out tax-free. So there are many reasons our expenses are lower in retirement, and that may even include the elimination of our working expenses, such as gas and tolls for commuting or eating lunches out every day at work. So in the case of Bill and Barb, we are looking at a scenario where they reduce their retirement expenses from $4,000 per month to $3,000 per month. This will greatly reduce their required nest egg because you need less money to fund a retirement with $1,000 less per month. Their required nest egg drops to $315,000, and their projected nest egg, based on the rest of their scenario remaining the same, is $400,000, leaving them a nice cushion in their retirement. Perhaps, however, that once again seems like a large drop in expenses, $1,000 down. And this may be true, and that is why the ideal scenario is to pull multiple levers to come up with a more feasible scenario that will have less of an impact on our daily lives and still allow us to accomplish our goals, and that we will see in just a bit. So another way we can adjust our scenario is by taking on some bridge work. Bridge work is work that we take on after retirement that allows us to bring in some extra income, but is more likely a part-time job or a job doing something we are passionate about, something out of the corporate life, or perhaps just less stressful than the work we do now. Here, we can retire from our full-time job and do something we love. Full retirement, it's a big step for people. They have most likely been working for as long as they can remember, and it is a big leap to go from working every day with a stable routine to having no work at all. Oftentimes, people are disenchanted after a little bit of enjoying their retirement. It may sound impossible when you are still perhaps enduring a stressful career, but it is true. Many people, they miss their busy life and feeling as though they had somewhat of a purpose, something to get them out of bed in the morning and have someone expecting them. Bridge work, though, can be a great solution to this common issue. It is something that can keep you busy and entertained, but at much less of a cost mentally. Less stress and less time leaves you with a nice balance of work and relaxation. This also can be a great way to continue your lifestyle that you intended, because you will be making less withdrawals on your portfolio if you have some income coming in. In our scenario, we have Barb retiring at 55. This is early by the nation's standard of 65, so perhaps she would like to engage in some bridge work. In this scenario, we have her earning half of her income, $25,000, for 10 more years after retirement. Well, this has a drastic impact on the portfolio. Now she only needs around $400,000 for retirement and is projected to have $465,000. Sometimes you can even work at the place you worked for before on just a part-time basis. Something to think about as well is health insurance. If you retire early before Medicare kicks in at 65, you will need to find some means of obtaining health insurance. You can purchase this on the marketplace, but it's often at a hefty cost. So if you are interested in doing some bridge work, many places, they allow you to work like 30 hours, and at that level, you're able to sign up for benefits. So this will allow you to access medical benefits until you are ready to fully retire at 65 and able to sign up for Medicare. Remember, if your spouse is old enough for Medicare, that does not qualify you for Medicare. you will still need to purchase insurance or get it through an employer. Another area we can adjust is our Social Security. There are various options when we collect Social Security. I'll go over them briefly as we will be discussing this in detail in our next webinar, which of course we would love for you to attend. Your full retirement age depends on when you were born, but if you are closer to retirement, it may be around 66. Full retirement age, according to Social Security, means you get your full benefit. That benefit could be reduced if you collect at a younger age, which can start at 62. If you collect at 62 or any time before your full retirement age, you will be permanently reducing your retirement benefits. On the contrary, if you collect at age 70, you receive an 8% increase in your benefit each year from full retirement age. This is a really great benefit if you can swing it, because 8% is a really great growth rate. You may not even be getting that in the market depending on your asset allocation at age 66. Therefore, it's a really great deal. However, many cannot wait that long because they need the income source once they retire. Of course, no one knows when they will pass away, but if you could, then I could tell you exactly when to take Social Security. No one knows, of course, so it is a decision that is partially based on the numbers and partially based on your overall health. If you have great health and you will live a long time, collecting at age 70 can really pay off. However, if you are in poor health and you don't expect to live into your 80s, it would make more financial sense to collect earlier, such as at full retirement, or maybe even earlier depending on the severity. In this scenario, we have Barb collecting at age 62 since she retires early, and Bill collecting at 70 since he is retiring late. As we can see, however, unlike the other alterations, this would not be enough to cover their retirement needs, so other changes would also need to be made in conjunction with this change. So we address multiple levers that we can push or pull depending on our scenario. But hopefully we are in the position to possibly increase our expenses, reduce risk, and retire earlier. But if we are like most of the nation, we are going to have to make a few changes in order to retire comfortably. That is why we take a combination of a few different changes in order to make our final financial plan reasonable enough to accomplish. Sorry if you hear my cats running around in the background. So from our base case with Bill and Barb, we made 3 changes. Here we have Barb increasing her retirement age by only 2 years. This is in contrast with the 7-year retirement increase we played out before. If you are done with work, as most people are as they get older, 7 years, that's a long haul to keep going if you are tired and really ready to retire. But 2 years, that's more doable. In combination with this, we have them reduce their expenses by $500 and take that $500 and put it into their retirement savings. $500 is much more feasible than $1,000, especially if we find ourselves in a tight spot already. So this would take our couple's spending from $6,500 to $6,000. And lastly, we have them reducing their retirement spending by $500. Once again, a much more comfortable change than the $1,000 we mentioned before. So if we do this, we have decreased their need for a $700,000 nest egg to only $476,000. And what they are projected to save is $561,000. In this case, they are good to keep their portfolio the same, making sure they stay within their risk tolerance and at the proper asset allocation for their age as they move along in years. So simply by making a few changes in their retirement plan, we found a way for them to be successful and come out of their current situation of a shortfall of $300,000 and a not so pretty picture for their retirement. Now they can retire in peace and be secure in knowing their future is taken care of. So this is the beauty of creating alternate scenarios with our financial plan. We can test the waters and run different scenarios with our advisor to find the ideal fit for you. Everyone is different, and certain things may be harder to change than for others. So you can pick your own priorities in terms of what you are willing to sacrifice to achieve your goals and come up with an ideal scenario that's tailored to you. Oh my goodness, they're crazy right now. So sign up for My Financial Answers to start off with building your base plan. Once we have your base plan in place, we can start looking at alternate scenarios by pushing and pulling different levers according to your needs. We can push and pull until we find the perfect fit and a way to achieve your goals now and throughout retirement. So use the coupon code, which is DPS Take 10, provided by your benefits program, and get started today. You can select schedule an appointment to meet with a financial planner, and get started with reaching your financial goals. So let's take a look at actually the software itself briefly so you can have an idea of what to do when building your financial plan. So let's take a look at that. Just give me a second. Okay, so here we are on the My Financials Answers login page. If we haven't logged in yet, we haven't created our account, we can click Create Account and we can type in our first name, our last name, our email address, which can either be your DPS email address or even your personal email, and then a password, and then you create your account. I already have one, so I'm just going to log in from here. So here when we log in, we can either view our dashboard, view our recommendations, or view our current path. So I'm going to go into the dashboard to start off. So here we can see this main scenario, which shows a chart of our retirement picture. We can see our investments, our retirement accounts, and other assets, which is the orange, which would represent things such as real estate. Here it'll tell us our required nest egg, if we want to retire at our certain age, what we're projected to have, and whether or not we have a shortfall. It'll also tell us our bank accounts and our retirement accounts on the side panel here, and also what our life insurance coverage looks like and whether or not we have a shortfall in that regard. So we can take a look at our current path. Here we will see our balance sheet. So this has our assets such as investment accounts, college savings accounts, real estate. Then we have our liabilities, which includes our mortgage, student loans, credit card debt, and anything else that we have that is in debt. And it comes up with our overall net worth. Then we have our budget, which shows our income for both Bill and Barb. And then we have their expenses. So their taxes, which is calculated for you, and also all the home and living expenses that you put in before, your debt payments, and any contributions that you may be making to retirement accounts. Here we can see what we saw on the dashboard, which is our future nest egg. It'll show us just the same as we saw before, but it also will show us a possible scenario, which is a larger nest egg that will help us get our way to retirement in a better situation. And it'll also offer some recommendations, and we can see these recommendations in the Action Center as well. We can also look at future income and expenses, and this is going to show us how many years we have income necessary to cover our expenses, how much of a shortfall we have, and how much is required. And we can see in this scenario, we have a bit of a shortfall in many years. And then it'll show us a possible scenario where alternatively, we're covering all the years of our income and expenses. And in this scenario, we have a surplus. So what we want to do is we want to take steps in the Action Center to get us to this possible nest egg ideally. We can also look at college savings if we put any of that information in for our children. We can look at the averages for private, out-of-state, and in-state schools, and also some savings recommendations on how we can be able to cover our college costs, depending on what we put in our initial input. Here we have alternative path, which is where we can alternate our scenario. So we can click here, we click a new scenario, we just name it whatever we want. And from here, we can scroll up and down depending on what we want to change. We can change our retirement age, our spending and retirement years, our monthly savings amount, college education, and also our annual return on our investments, either through stocks and bonds. We can click calculate, and then it'll come up with a possible nest egg that will be with those changes that you put in. Now we have our Action Center. So with our Action Center, this is where we have our to-do list of what to do to get through our financial plan and make sure we achieve our goals. So here it's recommending certain things like improve your credit card payments, your car loan interest rate is too high. And once you have accomplished these things, maybe you did improve your credit card payments, you can hit done, and then that will go away for you. So you're one step closer to achieving your goals, and you can move along down the line with the different action items. It'll also say whether or not it's a short-term, medium-term, or immediate need that you need to address. So we can take a look at that to prioritize what our actions will be. So we can also, if we want to change some certain things in our scenario, we can go to Return to Tour. And this will take us back to the input page. So here in our inputs, we can put in certain things or make certain changes in our income. So say we have a different amount for our pension, we can change that here. We can also add in different values for our investment accounts, our retirement accounts. We can change our expenses. So here we have our payments that we're making towards our debt. We have our expenses that we pay monthly. We can put in annual expenses or weekly expenses. And we also have here what we contribute to our retirement accounts or what we contribute to college savings and emergency funds. We can also change what our spending would be after retirement. So here, if we wanted to change it to $3,500, or maybe we want even a more of a cushion in retirement, we want $5,000 a month, then we can make that change here. And after you make your change, you can save and calculate now. If I had made a change, you would see this calculating, and then you can go back to view your dashboard once again to see the changes that you made. Some other features that are available on My Financial Answers is the My Benefits page. So if you click on My Benefits at the top corner and you click My Benefits, you can scroll down and see some links that will take you to certain benefits you have through DPS. So you can look at your retirement plans through Prudential, your check stubs, your Orbitz login, which is your pension amounts that you can take a look at, and even a Social Security benefits estimator. So this is just a helpful tool to get you quick access to certain things in your benefits package. Then you can go back to your plan, which is just the plan that we discussed before. And then finally, you can go into a learning center, which just has some nice insights into financial planning to give you some further guidance if you want to take a look at certain scenarios such as debt, retirement, asset maximizers, or even general education. So this will allow us to take a deeper dive into our alternate scenarios and our overall financial plan. So we really want you to dig deeper into this, schedule an appointment with your advisor at My Financial Answers, start building your plan, and we'll start building your alternate scenarios for you so you can be well on your way to accomplishing your financial goals. So we thank you so much for joining us today for expanding your plan with alternate scenarios. And we hope you join us next week for Social Security and retirement income planning. So we would love for you to stick around with questions, and we thank you so much for attending.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. That was fantastic. I don't have any cats, but I may have some dogs barking or 3 of my little kids running around in just a few minutes here. Hopefully not. But everyone, we're going to try to get to all your questions, and please send in questions right now. We're going to address every single question that has already come in, as well as those that come in while we're doing a couple other issues here. So I just want to I'll just share with you, we actually started My Financial Answers so that everyday Americans could have a sophisticated financial plan, which is more traditionally been reserved for higher net worth individuals. So we welcome you to go to My Financial Answers, start building that plan. You don't have to do everything that Becky just showed you on your own. You can set up an appointment to have someone help you, whether it's fill in the details of that, or if you run into problems. Most people don't have a problem inputting all of their individual details, but if you do run into problems, you can chat with us. You can set up an appointment. And by the way, when you first go in, that financial plan will not be there. You will click on My Plan to start building out that profile that Becky shared. So with that, we're going to actually just ask a couple of poll questions, have a little bit of interactivity here. I'm going to launch a couple of poll questions. Please, again, send in your questions. So I'm going to launch poll question number 1. At what age do you plan to retire? Would love to see what everyone says here. We're going to give this about 30 seconds for everyone to answer this poll question. Again, please send in your questions. It looks like we're getting a bunch of questions here. Good questions. So it looks like some poll answers are coming in. And we're going to share the results with you as well. So we'll give it about 20 more seconds or so. Just find my timer here. So we did have a question regarding the what email address do these emails come from at Durham Public Schools. And Paul, I'm not sure if you're still on. It'd be great if you are, if you could unmute and tell us who that email may come from. I'm not sure if it's a DPS Public Affairs General email address or a person's email, but it would be great if you could share that with us.
Sure. It comes from our Chief Communications Officer, William Sudrith.
William Sudrith. Could you spell the last name for us?
Sudderth.
Got it. Awesome, Paul. Thank you very much. So y'all can look for an email from William. And I believe that email already went out, Paul, correct? With the previous 3 recordings of our webinars, and another email will go out for this one as well with the recording, correct?
Correct. That went out Monday.
Awesome. Okay. All right, good deal. So I'm going to close this poll. Looks like we've got all of our answers in, and I'm going to share the results. It looks like retirement ages, 10% of people say they want to retire pretty early, 50 to 55, 20% between 56 and 60, 35% between 61 and 65, and 35% after. So it just, this poll question alone shows you the diversity of what people's financial plans look like, and why it's so important for us each to think about our own scenario. So good deal. We're going to ask 2 more poll questions here. I'm going to launch poll question number 2. Would you consider downsizing your home in retirement? Would love to see the answers to this. Would you consider downsizing your home in retirement? Definitely no, possibly, maybe in a different state, definitely yes. So we'll leave that open for about 30 seconds. We will make sure that in that follow-up email, by the way, you all will have a link to sign up for My Financial Answers. There's a specific site for Durham Public Schools employees. We did have a question, is My Financial Answers a free service? The answer to that question is absolutely. It is a free service as part of your benefits at Durham Public Schools. So whether that's doing it on your own or speaking with Becky, setting up an appointment with a financial planner on the team, that is a free service. So we'll give it about, looks like the poll questions are done. I'm going to close out this poll and we will share the results. So would you consider downsizing your home? 11% of people said definitely not. 56% of people are open to it, possibly. 4% say maybe in a different state, and 30% say definitely yes. So again, and I've been in the financial planning world for many years now, Becky as well. People's views of what they plan to do in retirement are so different, which actually is what makes financial planning a lot of fun. But this is not surprising to see. So let me go ahead and hide those results, and I'm going to ask one more question. Have you ever had a financial plan built? Launching that poll. Have you ever had a financial plan built? So planning on it, not yet. Yes, a while ago. No, I never have. Don't feel like I need one. So once you answer this question, we're going to close this out. We're going to jump right into the Q&A. So again, please feel free to send in questions. Looks like we've got a long list, and we're going to run through those as thoroughly and quickly as we can so we can address all of those. So it looks like some poll answers are coming in. Keep on going. We'll give it about 25 seconds. And again, we'll make sure that you all get you get the email with these recordings. It'll come to your Durham Public Schools email address from William, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name again, but the communications person at Durham Public Schools. So a couple more seconds here, and we'll go ahead and close out. A couple more answers coming in. We'll go ahead and close out the poll, and let's share our results. So, have you ever had a financial plan built? 33% say planning on it. 30% say yes a while ago. 36% no, I never have, and 0 say they don't feel like they need one. Hopefully, that's a result of us going through the presentation today. But good deal, good deal. Thank you all for answering those questions. Let's just jump right into the Q&A. Becky, I assume you're ready to answer some of these questions.
Sure.
So someone asked the question, how do you determine your required nest egg? And I think you answered it without being very specific, Becky, but if you could just talk about how does that nest egg and My Financial Answers work together to create that really quickly?
Yeah, so behind the scenes a little bit, there's some calculations that go on. And what we do is we project your expenses throughout retirement. And we use inflation, of course, because expenses go up every year. So we calculate all those expenses that are going to come through retirement all the way to the end of your age at about 100 years old. And from there, we determine what the amount is that you will need to cover those expenses. So that's how we come up with what you required, and then we take what you have and inflate that, and also use asset allocation behind it with some growth rates to come up with what is projected, and then that's how we determine whether or not you have a shortfall or a surplus.
Yeah, I think it's important to add to that financial planning. I'm 40 years old actually. I just turned 40 in March, so I could build a financial plan today, which will help set me up for how much do I need to save if my plan is to retire by 65. I'll revisit that plan on an annual basis to make sure that I'm still on track. And maybe my retirement age has changed. Maybe I say, you know what, there's no way I'm working when I turn 45. There's no way I'm going to make it to 65. I want to go back to that financial plan and say, what would happen if I want to retire at 60? So it's not like we sit down and do this once. It's helpful to do it once now, but we want to update financial plans as we go along, ideally on an annual basis, if not that as frequently as possible. So someone asked, how do I create an account? I went through the website, didn't know where to click to set up an account. So you won't go to our website, My Financial Answers. We actually will send a follow-up. In the follow-up email, we'll have a link. It's a specific link for Durham Public Schools employees that we'll follow up with you all. So it's we'll send it. It's a bit of a link there. I won't share it out loud here. You might make some mistakes typing it in. So we'll make sure that that's in the email. So you'll want to go there. That email should include the code to put in so that your financial plan is free as well. So a question here, Becky, and I'm not sure how much you know about the DPS retirement plans, but does DPS match any savings as 401 in the 401k or 457? Are you aware?
I'm not sure of that actually. So you would have to contact your HR to see if there is a match that you can take advantage of. I do know that they're automatically taking out for your pension, so you do have that benefit that's offered to you, but I'm not specifically sure of whether or not you receive a match. It's also important to realize if you have a spouse, talking to them because they may work for somewhere different, not a school district, and they may have the opportunity for a match. So making sure they're also taking advantage of that is very important.
I'll chime in on that.
Yeah, please, Paul.
No, we do not have a match. It's your state retirement plan that is deducted for you. The employer pays a larger portion than the 6% that comes out of your paycheck each month towards your retirement. But no, for 401s, 457s, Roth IRAs, there is no match from the district.
Yeah, I'd love to get in on that pension, Paul, that pension contribution, if you want to make that for Becky and me.
It does make life easier for people that stay with public service over the years.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
So I wouldn't discount that pension. I mean, that is a great benefit that's not really offered to many people these days. And so far, I've done some building of financial plans for current DPS employees, and that pension has really made a huge impact in making sure they can meet their retirement goals.
Yeah, one of the best parts about financial planning is it actually allows you to piece together, pension income and Social Security income, and then you're sort of backing into how much money do I need outside of those things, outside of my fixed income, to fill in the holes in my retirement plan. So good deal, good deal. All right, so how do we access My Financial Answers? If we already logged in and are talking to an advisor, the site will not let me in. Update a password. Please, if you use My Financial Answers, so as always with technology, sometimes technology either has issues, whether it's the technology itself or we may not be doing things the right way. It just depends. But please, you can actually go onto our website, whether it's on that specific link where you're trying to log in. Just chat with us, send us a message, and we'll figure out how to help you out, whether that's just getting logged back in or setting up an appointment. This is not meant for you to do this on your own. You can get started on your own. The service is meant for you to connect with an advisor that can actually help you out. So do we only get one free appointment, or are all the appointments covered by DPS? The answer to that question is you can meet with us as many times as you like. Becky, I think you said your average number of meetings with someone is 2 meetings. Usually you're kind of getting them up and running and then coming back for some follow-up. Do you want to talk about that process a little bit?
Yeah, so what we do initially is we just take a look at your data. So we take a look at what you inputted, and I'll also go through that with you just to make sure everything's accurate. So once we get all that data in there, then we have another meeting where I take that home with me, I digest that a little bit, and then I come up with some recommendations for you, and I deliver that to you in the second meeting. And then also, if anything changes from here until the future, you can certainly schedule an appointment with me again, and we can take into account those changes. And I'll also try to check up with you maybe in like 6 months just to make sure nothing's changed, and also just review some of the action items that we put in place.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Becky. All right. So a little career question here. So if I need to switch careers and do something other than public service, is there a better time to do that, like after a specific number of years? I currently have 12 years of service, 7 at DPS and 5 from another state. My question is in regards to benefits. If I need to switch careers, I guess maybe the question is really around, can financial planning help me think about these career changes? Because to me, it seems like making any career change is very, very specific to my personal circumstances. Becky, you want to address that quickly?
Yeah, so if you want to take advantage of your pension and get the full amount of your pension, you have to stay a certain amount of years. Sometimes that's 30 years of service. I'm not sure what it specifically is for Durham Public Schools. But if you wanted to take advantage of that full benefit, you would have to stay for that period of time. And then perhaps after that point, making that change. But if your income is going to be substantially different if you make that career change and you're going to be able to save even that much more for retirement, perhaps you can do it even before you get that full pension benefit. So that's really something we would want to take a look at your specific scenario and at the numbers that we're looking at so that we can make an educated decision.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. So Paul, we are seeing some people say that they have not received the email. So we'll just make sure we coordinate with you to make sure that all Durham Public Schools employees do receive that email. We do have the questions here recorded, so we'll make sure that we address this question specifically and work with the staff at DPS and Verity Asset Management, our partner, to make sure everyone does in fact get these recordings and get access to My Financial Answers. So another question here is: My Financial Answers, my projected amount is greater than my required amount. It's recommended that I contribute to a Roth IRA. How much of a discrepancy should there be between projected and required? My projected amount is greater than my required amount. So this person in My Financial Answer says they have a surplus of assets, Becky. It's recommending still that they contribute to a Roth IRA. And you might address that really quickly. And then how much discrepancy should there be between my projected and required? Do you want to take that?
Yeah. So in terms of contributing to the Roth IRA, that's always a wonderful benefit because it has tax-free growth and tax-free distributions. So even changing something from maybe contributing to a 401k and instead allocating some of those funds to a Roth IRA might be better for you in a tax posture. So that's something definitely to consider. But in terms of the surplus that you have over your projected versus your required, I mean, that's a great thing to have. It just allows you even more cushion. We are projecting it based on what is absolutely necessary for your expenses that you're going to have. But of course, there's certain life events that come up, maybe even healthcare costs and retirement that are maybe greater than you expected. So certainly having a surplus is a better situation because you'll be able to cover those costs without having to worry about being able to cover your lifestyle expenses. So I would definitely say if you have projected to have a greater amount, that you stick with that program because it's always better to have a little bit of a cushion left over.
Yeah, and I would add to that, who knows what's going to happen in the world. You know, I imagine there were a lot of people that planned to retire this year and then coronavirus happened and the markets fell apart. And, you know, hopefully those people were invested appropriately and didn't take too much risk and still could. But ultimately, as financial planners, we're always conservative in nature. And so we'll probably never recommend that you absolutely stop saving unless your surplus is just, you know, tremendously higher than what we think you would need. So our recommendation would still be to continue to save. Let me just take a look at the questions here. Not seeing the link in the prior recordings way down in the message. Okay, so I guess the link to My Financial Answers may not be in the top of the message. So a comment for the rest of the listeners, make sure you look through the entire email, I think, to find the My Financial Answers link. So Becky, I think this is a question from someone that must have attended last week. I've calculated my risk score, but I'm not sure how to use it. What do you say to that?
Yeah. So once you calculate your risk score, what you can do is input what you actually have in your investment portfolio. So you would want to take a look at your statements, find out what exactly you are invested in. And there's a section where you can input that information into the Riskalyze software. And what that will do is we'll come up with a risk score for your current portfolio versus what your risk score was when you did the questionnaire. and you'll either see a discrepancy in there or you'll see it be somewhat similar. So hopefully it's somewhat similar, and what that means is you're at the appropriate amount of risk for your portfolio and for your risk tolerance. If there is a large discrepancy, that's where you would want to address that with your advisor to make some changes to your portfolio.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. So just so everyone that didn't listen last week we addressed portfolio risk management, which is specific to your investment portfolio. This week is financial planning, which is a bit broader. Obviously, the two work together, but that question was specifically about that. So if you're interested about are you invested correctly, make sure you listen to week 3, which was all about investment risk scoring. So someone said they received an email from Seth Church, client relationship coordinator on behalf of Cameron Church, North Star Consultants. That person is not related to My Financial Answers. So that must have been a marketing email that someone's marketing to you. No affiliation with My Financial Answers. So just an answer to that. Found the recordings. They were in an attachment. Yeah, the recordings are an attachment to those emails to access. Can you remove the poll? I already did that. So here's a good question, Becky. How can I take out money from my Roth IRA without being penalized? Is it true that if I use the money for education, there will be no penalty on a Roth IRA?
Yeah, so there is amount that you can take out for your education. You would have to have that account for 5 years, so you want to make sure you have that. And also in terms of contributions to your Roth IRA, you can always take those out tax-free even before age 59 and a half. But you need to make sure that you've kept track of your contributions. Sometimes people haven't done that and they're not able to track down what they actually contributed versus what the growth is in their account. So if there's growth in your account, that is taxable and will be penalized if you take it out before 59 and a half. So you want to make sure you're keeping track of any contributions you make before taking anything out of your Roth IRA. So we certainly recommend other means of doing so because we want to see your retirement savings intact. So maybe get in touch with me through schedule an appointment, and we can talk about the best ways to save for your education.
Yeah, and you all will also see a link to schedule a meeting with Becky here. So you can, if you have just one-off questions and don't have a financial plan, we certainly encourage you to build a financial plan. But if you have one-off specific questions like that, Becky can take your call and help you with that as well. Good question here, Becky. In general, is it better to pay extra to a mortgage if you plan to stay in your home or to put towards your retirement accounts?
Yeah, so excellent question. So what I would say to that is you're probably making more in the market than you are paying interest on your mortgage. So most likely if your interest rate is around 4% or something like that, that's very common in this day and age, you're making 8% in the market, then you're above 4%. So you would want to make sure you're investing in the market before paying off your mortgage, and that depends on your interest rate. If your interest rate is very high on your mortgage, what I would actually consider doing is refinancing. Interest rates are very low right now. So if your credit score is good enough, you can refinance to a lower interest rate on your mortgage and then allocate those other funds to your retirement savings so you can see that growth over time.
Yeah. To add to that, it is very personal. So if you may be, and I'm not sure who's asking the question, but you may be, 64 and retiring next year. And so maybe your portfolio is invested a way where your expected investment return is not very high. And maybe your interest rate is actually closer to what your investment returns would be. So there probably are scenarios where it could make sense. So again, we'd encourage you to speak with an advisor about your personal situation to make the determination. But thanks for that answer, Becky. So is there anything specific I need to check my pension? So I'm assuming this question is about logging in to check their pension, what their pension payments will be or their projection might be. Do you have a sense of that, Becky, in working with DPS employees? Mm-hmm.
So if you click on the My Benefits under the My Financial Answers, like we looked at in our little demo, you can scroll down and you can click on a link that says Orbits. And Orbits is where you can find out about your pension information. Once you click on Orbits, you can create an account. And from there, you'll just have to put in some information like your birth date, your social security number, things like that will identify you. Once you put in that information, an account will be created for you and it will have your pension information. What you can click on when you log in is View My Retirement Statement is a little link on the side. You click that, then there will be years that come up. So you can click on download 2019. It'll come up as a PDF. Pull up that PDF, scroll down to like the second or third page, and there'll be the projected amount of your retirement pension plan. So that is very helpful for me when it comes to meeting with you and going through your financial plan. We actually seek first to access those documents so that we can find out what your projected pension amount will be and incorporate that into your financial plan.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. Just a couple more questions. If anyone has any last minute questions, please send them in now. I transferred my 403B to a traditional IRA. Should I continue to put the money into that for IRA as I did with my 403B, or invest somewhere else? I guess that's just a question about where's the best place for me to invest my or contribute my retirement savings.
Yeah, so if you're within the income limits of contributing to an IRA, I would definitely recommend that. Depending on how much you can save, there's only a limited amount you can contribute to an IRA, $6,000 or $1,000 extra if you are over the age of 50. You may be able to contribute more to your retirement than that allows you to do. So if you want to do that, then you would have to contribute to a 401k or 403b to supplement that amount. And then also what you can consider is contributing to a Roth instead of a traditional. So that's something I would want to take a look at your specific situation to see what your income tax brackets would be and where it's best to allocate the funds.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. What do you think about refinancing a house from a 3.125 to a 2.49 with $3,000 in closing costs? Maybe you can do that math in your head real quick, Becky. Any thoughts on refinancing?
I want to run the numbers on that myself, but that definitely sounds like a nice drop in an interest rate. I haven't even seen that 2% range, so that is an excellent way to go. I would definitely consider that as a feasible possibility and certainly something I would prioritize. What we can do is if you meet with me, we can actually run the numbers with those closing costs and how much of an impact what we'll have. But I imagine just from hearing off the top of my head that that'll be a long-term benefit to you and it will really reduce your monthly costs.
Yeah, I actually personally just refinanced down to a 2.625. I think that break-even analysis has a lot to do with whether or not you're planning on staying in your home for a period of time. So long as you are, it seems like a good deal. But like Becky said, you'd want to run the numbers. All right, I think we have one last question here. Oh, nope, two more questions. My husband's 401k plan has a 30% match, so I'm not contributing to mine at all, and he has maxed his contribution. Does this make sense, or should I be contributing to mine? Question mark. I shouldn't have read the question mark. Should I be contributing to mine?
So if you have the supplemental funds to be able to contribute to yours, I would definitely recommend that. That's great that he has a 30% match. That's incredible. I haven't even heard of that before, so wonderful. That'll really bolster your retirement savings. But yes, if you actually have additional funds to contribute, I would definitely recommend contributing to a 401k or a Roth or a traditional IRA, depending on how much leftover you can contribute.
Yeah, maybe there was a 3% match or 30% on the dollar or something.
Yeah,
good.
That sounds a bit high.
I want to go work there and get the pension from DPS. Okay, one last question. If I'm going to retire but not 100% sure, can I supplement with my Social Security to receive a larger retirement check? If I'm going to retire but not 100% sure, can I supplement with my Social Security? Maybe this question is, can I supplement Social Security, my part-time income with Social Security? Maybe that's what the question is. Can I work at the same time as I get Social Security, maybe?
Yeah. So I would tune in next week for our Social Security webinar, so you can learn a little bit more about that. But there is a level of income that your Social Security is reduced when you are working. So you would want to make sure you're within those income limits so that it's not reducing your Social Security. So that's something we would want to figure out on an individual basis.
Awesome. All right, Becky, one last question, actually. People are really excited about this stuff. Does the Roth IRA have the same interest rates in all banks at the same time?
So you can invest whatever you want in a Roth IRA. So any bank or custodian such as Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade or anything like that, what you can do is you can actually choose the investments that you want to invest in And that's a wide range of investments. That's mutual funds, ETFs, individual stocks. So that'll vary depending on what you select. It's not a set amount of interest that you're going to receive. It depends on the investments that you have in your portfolio. So you would want to speak to your advisor on how to invest those funds and how to allocate your portfolio, and that'll determine how much you're going to have in growth.
All right. Good deal. Actually, I have one more question, and I just need to read it real quick. So this is a question about an inherited 403B. Is there a way to avoid the drama should I pass before I can draw my 403B? I guess this person inherited a 403B, and that process of inheriting it from someone else was a bit of a mess, and they're asking, is there a way to pass before I can draw my 403B? Is there a way to avoid the drama? So perhaps that's simply naming a beneficiary, I guess, on the 403B. I guess we'd have to talk to you specifically about the situation, Becky. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I've not had experience with inherited 403Bs at all, but.
Yeah, so with an inherited account, you're going to have to take a certain amount of distributions each year. So I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to, or if you're referring to how it's going to transfer to your own heirs. Like Ben said, just putting a beneficiary, in that case, it'll transfer directly to that person. It'll avoid probate and everything like that. So that will avoid any drama for you in the future. But other than that, let's clarify that through an appointment, because I'm not exactly sure what your question is referring to.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you very much, Becky. Everyone, that actually does conclude all the questions we had. As we said, please look for the follow-up email from, I believe it was William at Durham Public Schools, the communications team. Look for the recording. We encourage you to go back and listen to the other webinars. These things all sort of are building on each other and kind of fit together. But thank you so much. We encourage you to sign up for My Financial Answers, to set up an appointment with an advisor. We wish you a wonderful, healthy, and happy summer. Hope you get some relaxation before going back to school in the fall, and hopefully everyone is healthy enough and things are back to some sort of normalcy in August, I guess, is when you all probably return, September up here. But thank you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to our team. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.